Hello bright minds, you're welcome to Worldview by Charles. Today we'll be discussing Israel and Palestine, digging deep into their histories and struggles. The Israel-Palestine conflict is one of the most enduring and emotionally charged disputes in modern history. It's not just a political issue but a complex blend of history, identity, faith, and international power plays. Understanding it requires examining ancient origins, global influences, and the modern-day positions of key actors. What is Semitism? Semitism refers to the cultural, ethnic, and linguistic characteristics shared by Semitic peoples groups that traditionally speak Semitic languages such as Hebrew, Arabic, and Aramaic. These people include Jews, Arabs, Assyrians, and others from the Middle East and North Africa. They're mainly people of Shem, one of the sons of Noah, descent. Antisemitism has become commonly associated with hostility toward Jews, particularly in Europe, but it's important to note that Arabs are also Semites. The term, Semitic, is linguistic in origin and doesn't denote race or religion alone, though it has been politicized over time. What is Levant and who is a Levantine? Levant is a historical geographical region along the eastern Mediterranean coast, primarily encompassing modern-day Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, Israel, Palestine, and parts of southern Turkey, e.g., Hatay. It's defined by its Mediterranean coastline, mountain ranges, and the Jordan Rift Valley. While Levantine refers to the indigenous peoples of the Levant, this identity is characterized by exceptional racial and ethnic diversity within an Arab-majority population. Key groups include Arabs, the largest group, Kurds, Armenians, Turkmens, Assyrians, Arameans, Syriacs, and Circassians. This blend creates a distinct cultural mosaic within the broader Arab world. Who were the Canaanites, the Philistines, and the Jews? Before the modern state of Israel or the Palestinian territories existed, the land between the Jordan River and the Mediterranean Sea was inhabited by several groups. Canaanites were among the earliest known inhabitants of the region, existing around 3000 BCE. They were a Semitic-speaking people with city-states across what is now Israel, Palestine, Lebanon, and parts of Syria and Jordan. The Philistines. The Philistines were of Aegean, that's of Greek-like origin, and settled along the southern coast of modern-day Israel and Gaza around 1200 BCE. Though often portrayed as enemies of Israel in biblical texts, archaeology reveals they had a rich culture. In 2019, DNA analysis of Philistine skeletons in Ashkelon confirmed that early Philistines had genetic links to Bronze Age populations in the Aegean. However, this distinct ancestry faded within 2 to 3 generations due to intermarriage with local Semitic populations. Today, modern Palestinians do not carry identifiable Philistine genes, though some trace elements may exist. They are genetically closer to Arabized Levantines. The Aegeans' DNA is closely related to the Greek. The Philistines weren't Semites, they're Levantines, however the modern-day Palestinians are Semites. The Jews. The Jews trace their ancestry to the Hebrews or Israelites, a Semitic people believed to descend from Abraham. They established kingdoms under Saul, David, and Solomon before facing conquests by various empires. These groups all shaped the region's early identity. However, Jewish religious texts and continuous historical consciousness preserved a unique Jewish claim to the land. Effects of world powers on Israel and Palestine. Powerful empires have long shaped the control and narrative over this land. Romans destroyed the Second Temple in 70 CE after a failed revolt, and renamed Judea as Palestina, from Philistines, the Jews' longtime foes, to spite Jewish identity. Byzantine Empire retained the name until the 7th century. Islamic caliphates, starting in the 7th century after defeating the Byzantine, led to Arabization and Islamization. Ottoman Empire ruled from the 1500s to 1917. British Mandate, 1917 to 1948, promised land to both Jews and Arabs, increasing tensions. Following the Holocaust, sympathy for Jews led to widespread support for creating Israel in 1948. This caused the Nakba, or mass displacement of over 700,000 Palestinians. Some Palestinians fled due to war, others were forcibly removed, and many were told to evacuate temporarily by Arab leaders who expected to defeat Israel quickly. It remains a subject of debate. Since then, global powers like the US, Russia, and European nations have influenced the conflict through arms, diplomacy, and UN policies. Who has the most legal claim to the land? Israel cites the Balfour Declaration, 1917, UN Partition Plan, 1947, and historical ties. Israel accepted the 1947 plan. Arab states rejected it and declared war. Palestinians argue from continuous residence, inheritance, and self-determination. The Nakba is seen as dispossession. International law generally supports a two-state solution. The 1967 Israeli occupation of the West Bank and Gaza is considered illegal by many. Note that this occupation was caused by an attack on Israel in the Six-Day War, which Israel prevailed. Israel relinquished some captured lands but not all, which is massively criticized by UNO. Both sides have moral and historical claims. A legal resolution leans toward peaceful division. The two-state solution and its challenges. This widely supported approach calls for two states based on pre-1967 borders. However, issues include Israeli settlements fragment Palestinian territory, security concerns due to Hamas and other armed factions, Jerusalem, claimed by both sides, sacred to Jews, Western Wall, Muslims, Al-Aqsa, and Christians. Refugees. Palestinians demand a right of return, which Israel sees as a demographic threat. Past negotiations, Oslo, Camp David, Trump's deal of the century, have failed, deepening distrust. Netanyahu versus Macron on recognizing Palestine. French President Macron supports recognizing a demilitarized Palestinian state through the UN. Israeli PM Netanyahu opposes this, calling it a reward for terrorism and insisting on direct negotiation. Both have points. Hamas's rise in Gaza after Israeli withdrawal mirrors the Taliban in Afghanistan post-US exit. If Hamas takes over Palestine, if given a state, it will be of great security risk to Israel. Regardless, Palestine should be given a republic. A viable solution might involve statehood conditioned on internal security, where terrorist takeovers trigger international intervention. Perhaps, Israel involvement. Religion's role in the conflict. Religion heightens tensions. Judaism, Temple Mount and Western Wall are sacred. Islam. Al-Aqsa is Islam's third holiest site. Christianity. Region includes many biblical locations. Religious nationalism fuels extremism. Both Jewish and Muslim radicals invoke scripture to justify exclusive claims. I opined that the first Islamic conquest targeted Jerusalem for her religious significance in the Abrahamic religion, built the Al-Aqsa Mosque, Islamized and Arabized the Jews. They did this when they had the power to do. The change of Judea to Syria-Palestina by Emperor Hadrian to spite the Jews and undermine their national identity by giving the land that belonged to them to their foe justifies Israel's struggle to have Jerusalem and West Bank fully to itself. Typically, Palestinians are Arabs who have lived so long in Palestine, and Arabs, especially the Muslim ones, are the Jews' long-lasting foes. On the flip side, some of the cities of Israel were once Palestinian state. 1 out of 5 Philistines' land is currently inhabited by the Palestines, which is Gaza under the government of Hamas. The rest, Ashkelon, Ashdod, Ekron, Gath, are all towns in modern-day Israel, so it's difficult to use the ancient rule to give Jerusalem back to Israel when Israel is now occupying the Palestinians' ancient abodes. Other proposed solutions. One-state solution. A shared binational state. Not realistic due to ethnic and political divisions. Confederation. 2 states with open borders. Idealistic but impractical. International trusteeship. A neutral, unadministered transitional period to build institutions before granting Palestine full independence. Historically used in Namibia, Timor-Leste, and Kosovo. This could work if both sides cooperate. Conclusion. The Israel-Palestine conflict is deeply rooted in history, trauma, and identity. It defies simplistic narratives of good versus evil. Lasting peace requires mutual recognition, shared dignity, and global cooperation. With political will, empathy, and justice, even entrenched conflicts can be resolved. If you like this content, like, comment, share and click the notification bell for more contents like this.